Imagine walking through the dense forests of Panama. The air is thick with bird calls, the rustling of leaves, and the distant sound of howler monkeys echoing through the canopy. But suddenly you notice something strange. A capuchin monkey, small, clever, and curious, is carrying a baby howler monkey on its back. At first you might think, how sweet, adoption across species. But then you realize, this isn't adoption, this is abduction. Welcome to one of the most bizarre and unsettling animal behaviors ever recorded. The rise of a social tradition where monkeys regularly kidnap infants of another species. This remarkable story comes from Jicarón Island, part of Panama's Coiba National Park. Here, researchers have been studying white-faced capuchin monkeys for years, especially a unique group famous for using stone tools, something extremely rare among monkeys. But in January 2022, camera traps captured something no one expected, a young capuchin carrying a newborn howler monkey. And it didn't stop there. Over the next 15 months, 5 different young male capuchins were observed abducting and carrying 11 howler monkey infants. Now, abduction might sound like an exaggeration, but it isn't. The howler babies weren't abandoned, they weren't rescued. They were taken, often while their mothers cried and called for them from nearby trees. Researchers used 86 camera traps, running almost non-stop, to follow this strange tradition. The first abduction was in January 2022, and soon after, a subadult male capuchin, nicknamed the Innovator, became the primary carrier. He was seen carrying multiple infants, sometimes for as long as 9 days. Other young males soon copied him. By late 2022, 4 more capuchins had joined in. Between them, they carried at least 11 different howler infants, usually between 1 day and 4 weeks old. Some of these infants survived for several days. Others weakened over time, likely from malnutrition. At least 4 of them died. Disturbingly, some were carried even after death, their tiny bodies clinging limply as the capuchins went about their activities. Even stranger, while carrying these infants, the capuchins continued using stone tools to crack nuts, sometimes so carelessly that a howler baby slipped off. The big question is, why? What motivates a monkey to repeatedly kidnap another species' babies? At first glance, one might think it's adoption or compassion, but the details suggest otherwise. The infants were often prevented from escaping. Adult howler monkeys, much larger than capuchins, desperately tried to rescue their babies, but were blocked, even threatened, by other members of the capuchin group. So if it's not survival or kindness, could it be social learning? Capuchins are known for being innovators and copycats. Just like humans pick up fashion trends, monkeys can adopt cultural habits, sometimes useful, sometimes pointless. Researchers think this may actually be a kind of monkey fad. Similar to chimpanzees who once developed a trend of sticking grass in their ears, these capuchins may simply be imitating each other. In this case, instead of twigs, the status symbol was a living infant of another species. It's not food, it's not companionship, it's culture. Dark and disturbing culture. This discovery shakes up how we think about animal traditions. We usually imagine animal culture as something adaptive. Birds teaching songs, dolphins inventing hunting tricks, or monkeys learning tool use. But here we see a tradition with no benefit at all, only danger, both for the abducted infants and for the capuchins themselves. In fact, this behavior could pose a serious conservation threat. The howler monkeys on Jicarón are already an endangered subspecies. If young males keep abducting their infants, it could harm the long-term survival of the population. And there's another layer, the conditions that encourage this behavior. Jicarón Island has fewer predators and fewer animal species than the mainland. That means more free time for capuchins, and possibly even boredom. Just like humans sometimes invent strange hobbies when we're understimulated, these monkeys might have developed a dangerous obsession simply because they could. So what can we learn from this eerie story of monkey kidnappers? First, it shows us that culture in animals can be both beautiful and terrifying. Tool use can help survival, infant abduction threatens it. Both, however, spread in the same way, through curiosity, imitation, and social learning. Second, it reminds us that wildlife conservation isn't only about protecting habitats. Sometimes, the very traditions animals develop can threaten other species around them. Finally, it forces us to reflect on ourselves. Humans, too, create cultural traditions that don't always make sense, some harmless, like fashion, others destructive, like dangerous social challenges. In the end, we're not so different from the Capuchins on Jicarón Island. As bizarre and unsettling as it is, this study gives us a rare window into the complex, sometimes dark world of animal behavior. And it leaves us with one haunting image, a capuchin monkey, clever and restless, proudly carrying a Howler infant, not as a parent, not as a predator, but simply because that's what his group had started to do.